Now we're talking about indirect measures. It's going to take one page. Goes along with ratios, rates, unit rates, proportional reasoning, similar figure scale drawings, and indirect measures. That is your title. Remember that you can pause, stop, fast forward, rewind, whatever you need to do at any point. There we go. Alright, that is your title also. You do not have to draw this picture, although it actually wouldn't be a bad idea, so maybe y'all should do that. I'm going to draw one for you. So here's a little tree and a shadow, and then we'll have a big tree and a bigger shadow. Okay. Alright, so indirect measures is it's a way to find out measurements of something that like you can't reach. Okay, so that's Boomer right there, by the way. This is my backyard, and this is a little tree, a little pecan tree, and in the background where you see that shadow right there is a cedar tree. So using indirect measures, I'm going to try this in white. Yeah, maybe you can see that a little better. Using indirect measures, we can actually find out how tall that cedar tree is back there. So I went outside and I measured this little pecan tree, and it was 62 inches. Okay? And I also measured the shadow from the base, how far that was, and it was 117 inches. Okay? And I'm going to see if I can move. Let's see if I can move this 62-inch thing without messing up the picture. I guess I can't, so it is what it is. Alright, so that little pecan tree is 62 inches tall. The shadow is 117 inches long. So for the cedar tree in the back, where the swing is hanging, I measured from here. Oh, don't do that. Sorry. I measured from the base all the way out to the end of the shadow, and it was 572 inches. Okay, so now we can find out how tall that tree is. If you look at it, it looks like two triangles, right? So we would have this here and that there, which we have done before. We don't even have to worry too much about the corresponding angles and stuff, because we have a drawing right in front of us, right? We've got the height of a tree and the length of a shadow. Alright, so on your little plant that you drew up there, you would have 117 and 62, and this one was 572, and we're finding how tall that is. We could also do this outside at school. You could measure the height of a bench and its shadow, and then you could measure the shadow of the building, and we could find out how tall the building is. So these numbers are kind of large, but we're going to knock this out. Okay. Alright, so what two things do we have? We have height and a length, right? So we have height and length, or height and shadow, whatever you want to call it. So the height of the pecan tree was 62, and the length was 117, and that equals the length of the large tree, which is 572, and we are trying to find out how tall that tree is. I wonder if you could estimate a little bit how tall it's going to be. Notice the shadow of the small tree is about twice as much as the height. So I would imagine the shadow of the large tree is about twice the length of the height of that tree. So if you were to cut 572 in half, about 572 is about 600. So I would suspect that you're going to come up with something a little bit less than 300 would be my guess. Alright, so we have this proportion, which we all know how to solve. You just cross product and divide by the number that's left out. So we do 572 times 62. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1 to 10 plus that. There we go. Placeholder, because we already multiplied that. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 7 is 42, plus the 1 is 43. And 6 times 5 is 30, plus the 4 is 34. So if you add these up, we get 4, 6, 4, 5, 3. So we've got 35,464. 35,464. Now just divide that by the number that you have left over of 117. I'm going to save you some time, and I'm going to use my calculator. 64 divided by 117. We get 303 and 1/10 repeated. So that's using a proportion to find a missing measurement of something that is out there in nature, which I was fairly close as far as the estimation goes. It's no different than just a proportion word problem. It's no different than a scale drawing. It's no different than similar figures. If you can set up the proportion the right way, you can do the math and get it right. Focus on setting it up, and you'll be good to go.